Hey everyone, I hope you all are doing well. In this week, we have the daily race here at Le Mans without the chicane layout with the Group C cars. So that means in GT7 we only have 5 Group C cars at the moment. I can name all of them if you want. Like one of them is the Nissan R92CP. Then we also have the Mazda 787B. We also have the Jaguar XJR-9, which I'm actually driving here right now in this video here. And then the last two cars are the Sauber Mercedes C9 as well as the Porsche 962C. Yeah, like as we have pretty much got this new daily race combo yesterday. This was also my very first race I did yesterday with the Jaguar. So I would like to apologize for any let's say bad driving from my side already, because there are going to be few corners where I missed the braking point by quite a lot, or like even the where I also missed the apex by a mile. So I would like to apologize for that already, or like in advance. But like if I want to talk about how the car is like compared to the meta car here, which is the Nissan R92CP. Like yesterday I tested, or not really tested, but I tried out the Jaguar, the Porsche, as well as the Sauber Mercedes yesterday. As for the Mazda, I also did one race there, but yeah, that was a literally chaotic race. Pretty much all of the races here are like quite chaotic, which can be both a good and bad thing in my opinion. Like the good thing is all of the races you do there are like quite entertaining. The bad thing is, yeah, it's not really ideal in terms of your driver and safety rating, right? Because in this race here, or pretty much because of the way how the track is like, because without the chicane, normally you would try to bump draft each other in order to gain a lot more speed, or like top speed on the straight, or like on the back straight. No, I don't know if you could even call it the back straight. Let's say the long main straight there, because if you don't really bump draft each other, or like even don't really help out each other, you're going to lose a lot of time there. And yeah, with the Nissan, on one hand, it's pretty much the meta car because of its acceleration and the top speed it has. Through the corners, there are a few other Group C cars out there which are faster than the Nissan, in my opinion, which are the Sauber Mercedes C9 as well as the Porsche 962C. With those two cars, I've also kind of prepared a video which I intend to upload throughout the week later on. But yeah, with this car here, with the Jaguar I was driving here, it was more like an all-rounder in that sense. Like it had better top speed than both the Sauber and like especially than the Porsche, in my opinion. Or let's say the Sauber and the Jaguar were almost the same, but in my opinion I think the Jaguar was slightly quicker. But through the corners, yeah, like it was slower than both of these cars, but on the same time it was able to keep up with the Nissan, or was maybe slightly quicker, I think. But I think I would put it on the same tier as the Nissan through the corners at least. But on the straight, it was really tough, because you're going to see that, for example, here for this corner, like at the exit for this corner, when we also entered the long main straight, I was still having the slipstream of Naive in front of me, but you are able to see that even without the slipstream, the Nissan was actually quicker than than me when I was using the Jaguar here, and on the same time using the slipstream even. So that was a bit frustrating here. But with the other two cars I drove yesterday, and here you were also able to see that I was really struggling to keep my steering wheel straight, because yeah, like it was moving all the time. So I don't know if I had to reduce the force feedback setting, or even the sensitivity afterwards. But let's say if I had reduced the force feedback setting for the main straight only, then I wouldn't really have like all the feedback needed for the corners later on, which I didn't want to sacrifice in the end. Like here, for example, I missed the braking point, which I apologize in advance because I was still trying to figure out the braking points and the way how you're supposed to drive with these cars at the circuit. But yeah, it was kind of interesting because even later on you're going to see that we were also involved with some battles there, and on the same time I also had to look for the cars who were actually, or like for the drivers who were actually behind of me still, because all of them, or like the majority of them, were driving the Nissan. And if I don't really have the slipstream with the Jaguar, then the Nissan are going to gain a lot of time on the straights. And yeah, and with the slipstream range, it's also like around 1.5 seconds, I believe. And yeah, the other unfortunate thing about this daily race, in my opinion, is although the weather setting is like so beautiful, like if you want to take some skate pictures of this race, mainly like with all the races I've done yesterday, or like with almost all the races I've done yesterday, I mean, I took like so many pictures from this race because the weather setting in terms of the clouds, the colors of the sky, like the like Polyphony Digital did a really good job with that. It's just that I only wish it was like a dynamic weather as well. Like with dynamic weather, I mean that not, well, you like, I'm not really asking to have like rain for all the slots I do, or like for all the races I do from this daily race. But if there was a possibility where, for example, in one race you only have a dry race, but if you join the next daily race slot, then all of a sudden you have like a mixture between dry and wet race, and then on the other hand you only have like a wet race in the end. I think that would have been pretty cool, but on the other hand, I think it would have been quite difficult to keep the car under control during these conditions. So maybe I can understand why Polyphony Digital didn't really set up this race as a dynamic weather race, right? But this is the one part. The other part which I find a bit disappointing is the multiplier being used for this race. Like both the tire wear and the fuel consumption rate has been set and put to ×1. Furthermore, we also don't really have to pit because there's no mandatory pit stop required. Additionally, we only have to use the medium tire compound, and they are not really that bad. Like you can actually push them throughout the entire race, and you also don't really have to pay attention to the tire temperature of the car, of the tires, I mean, sorry. So yeah, it was a bit unfortunate, but nevertheless, it's still like a really fun daily race in my opinion. I think I still have to try out the Nissan on the other hand to see how truly enjoyable this daily race is, because like when I was trying out the Porsche as well as the Sauber afterwards, especially with the Porsche, it was a bit frustrating on the straight line because I was getting a lot of time through the corners, which you will see throughout the week once I upload the video with the Porsche later on. But on the straights, like I was losing at least 2 seconds or maybe 3 seconds at least compared to the Nissan, which was a bit frustrating. But even so, it was still a challenge for me personally, because this way I had to think about, okay, if my car is not really usable or like viable for the straights, then how am I able to gain all the lost time back through the corners, right? So here, for example, if you are like the car in front of you, because this was a bit frustrating from my side, because here, due to the lack of top speed, I wasn't able to overtake the French Nissan driver here. But then here he completely missed the apex through the final corners, got the penalty, then I had like a better exit than him, but as the Nissan has to shift up earlier than the other Group C cars, at least, that's why I kind of bumped into him. So like back then, I didn't really saw it coming that he had to shift up a bit earlier than the other Group C cars. But this is something I learned afterwards, because after seeing so many of the other drivers who were using the Nissan in that race, shifting up quite early, or like earlier than the other Group C cars, I was like, okay, for these kind of corners around that speed range, I should not really be behind of the Nissan, right? Like I should maybe place my car right next to it, so that once that car shifts up, I can still use the same gear for a little bit longer, so that I could still like out drag him before I have to shift up, right? So yeah, this is something I've also learned from this daily race here, which is quite interesting. But yeah, unfortunately, due to the battle we had before, I lost like the slipstream from the drivers in front of me, which also meant that I wasn't really able to fight for the victory anymore, or like even for the podium finish. So here, this is something I also appreciated from the French driver, because in his case, he actually lost time, like at the beginning, because he was getting a lot of time compared to me on the straights. So if I were him, I would have overtaken the car in front, which is like the Jaguar in this case here. But I still appreciated it. But yeah, I think he also had a penalty which he could have served by overtaking me, because his car was like faster than the Jaguar on the straights. So he shouldn't have worried about that too much. But nevertheless, yeah, this is something I appreciated, obviously. And then the other thing which is like really dangerous by doing this daily race, unfortunately, is due to the amount of bump drafting on the straight line, in order not to lose a lot of time. On the same time, a few drivers are not really careful with the way how they bump draft with each other, because some cars, like, they approach with such a momentum amount of speed, if I can say that. Like for example, they like at that time before they're going to bump draft my car as an example. Like their top speed is already like around 20 kilometers per hour faster than mine during that time. But with that speed difference, if they bump draft into me, he, or like that driver, as well as my car, will get some damage, which is not really ideal. And on the same time, you can also get like lots of mechanical damages in this race, or like in this daily race here, I mean. And like if so many cars are like so closely to each other, then yeah, some contact will happen in the end. So but nevertheless, like this is the final lap here. Like I was able to gain a little bit of time for the last sector once again, but unfortunately, as we are about to enter the main straight once again, and me not having the slipstream, it was like, yeah, game over, unfortunately. But nevertheless, I think the Jaguar was like really fun to drive, but unfortunately it just lacked the top speed compared to the Nissan for this race. And I think if we also had like like me looking at the back to enjoy the sky and like the dynamic weather, and here you can also see the steering wheel here, or like me trying to keep my steering wheel under control. But what I wanted to say initially was like I think if we had the normal Le Mans layout for this daily race instead of the one without the chicanes, I think few other cars could have been a bit more viable, like especially the Sauber, I believe. But because the distance of the full throttle main straight, if I can say that, is going to be shortened by a lot, because you have to brake twice, as there are like two chicanes with the normal layout, and this is why the Nissan won't be able to use its advantage as much as if we would only use the Le Mans circuit without the chicanes. So maybe this is something we might be able to see in the future, who knows. because unfortunately with the current Group C cars we have in the game, like few Group C cars such as the Mazda and the Nissan, they lack a little bit of downforce for the corners, but they're insanely fast on the straight line. Whereas the Sauber and the Porsche, for example, yeah, they lack, let's say, a little bit of top speed, or like a lot of top speed, especially if we use the Le Mans circuit without the chicanes here. But on the same time, they're like insanely fast through the corners, especially for the last section of Le Mans. So yeah, this is a bit hard, like if you want to try and balance these cars in the end. But nevertheless, I think this is like as a small verdict already. I think it's a fun daily race combo here, but there are a few dangerous things provided already, which I would like to warn you already. Like, please be careful if you do this race, because there's a chance where you might be getting a DR reset, which I've almost got actually once again. So I don't think I will be doing few races of this for now. Luckily I did few yesterday, which I intend to upload later throughout this week. But nevertheless, we finished this race in P5. I also hope you were able to enjoy this race. And if you want to do this race, I wish you all the best. Please watch out there. But nevertheless, hopefully I will be able to see you guys on the next video. Take care, guys. Cheers.